Mr. Chairman, we yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and Mr. Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. And gentlemen, thank you all for being here, and thank you for your continued service to your country. I've learned recently the value of sitting in one place for a long period of time and listening, and today has added to that understanding. And I'm going to try to ask questions that y'all can answer in this format and are within your areas of expertise. And Director Rogers, my first question to you: the exploit that was used by the Russians to penetrate the DNC, was it sophisticated? Was it a zero-day exploit? A zero-day being some type of, for those that are watching, an exploit that has never been used before?
In an open and classified form, I am not going to talk about Russian tactics, techniques, or procedures about how they executed their hacks.
If members of the DNC had not, let me rephrase this, can we talk about spear phishing?
Sure. In general terms, yes, sir.
Spear phishing is when somebody sends an email and somebody clicks on something in that
Right,
email.
the user thinks they're receiving an email either of interest or from a legitimate user. They open it up and they'll often click, if you will, on a link, an attachment.
Was that type of tactic used in the
Again, I'm not in an unclassified form, just not going to
copy?
get
I apologize. Director Comey, when was the first time the FBI, roughly?
I think August of 2015.
And was that prior to any of the information being leaked, to being sent on, put on WikiLeaks?
Yes, the first Russian-directed releases were middle of June of the next year by DC Leaks and this Guccifer 2.0 persona, and then that was followed by WikiLeaks. So about a year, a little less than a year earlier.
So there was about a year between the FBI's first notification of some potential problems with the DNC network and then that information getting on. Ever get access to the DNC hardware?
The NSA didn't ask for access. That's not in our job jar. That would be
Good copy. So, Director, FBI notified the DNC early, before any information was put on WikiLeaks, and when you have still never been given access to any of the technical or the physical machines that were hacked by the Russians.
That's correct, although we got the forensics from the pros that they hired, which, again, best practice is always to get access to the machines themselves, but this, my folks tell me, was an appropriate substitute.
At what point did the company the DNC use share that forensic information to you?
I don't remember for sure. I think June. I could be wrong about that.
The company went public in June of 16 with their conclusions, I would assume.
Yeah, I think it was about the time, I think it was a little bit before the announcement, but I'll say approximately June.
So that was how long after the first notification that the FBI did of the DNC?
10 months.
10 months. So the FBI notified the DNC of the hack, and it was not until 10 months later that you had any details about what was actually going on forensically on their network.
That's correct. Assuming I have the dates about right, but it was some months later.
Knowing what we know now, would the FBI have done anything different in trying to notify the DNC of what happened?
Oh, sure.
What measures would you have done differently?
We'd have sent up a much larger flare. Yeah, we'd have just kept banging and banging on the door, knowing what I know now. We made extensive efforts to notify. I might have walked over there myself, knowing what I know now. But I think the efforts we made, that our agents made, were reasonable at the time.
Good copy. And do you have a ballpark of the number of private sector entities that you have to notify of these types of breaches?
Hundreds and thousands. In this particular case, we had to notify hundreds, I think maybe more than 1,000 entities that the Russians were hitting at the same time.
Admiral Rogers, do you have anything to add to that?
No, because as we passed the information to the FBI, what started all this was a pretty massive effort on the part of our Russian counterparts.
I've said this many times. The outcome of Grizzly Step, what the intelligence community refers to as the Russian hacking, has been the wedge, whether real or perceived, between the executive branch, the intelligence community, and the public. And this is an asymmetrical tool that the Russians are using in order to destabilize liberal democratic institutions. And I think it is important that we do everything we can to review this, which I fully believe federal law enforcement is doing, as y'all have talked to here. And I'd like to end before yielding back to the chairman. My colleague from California, the ranking member, said in his opening statement, the question most people have is whether we can really conduct this investigation in the kind of thorough and nonpartisan manner that the seriousness of the issues merit, or whether the enormous political consequences of our work will make that impossible. And he adds, the truth is, I don't know the answer. I do. We must. The American people demand this. The future of our democratic institutions demand it, and I'm glad we have two people like y'all involved in this. Mr. Chairman, I yield back my time to you.
Gentleman yields back. Mr.